Oh, ooh, it was a slow little crispy
What?
opening today. Chris,
Yeah.
do you have another stout? Are you still stouting these
No,
days?
I ran out of the stout. I
Oh no.
something. It's something I'm a little embarrassed to show, but because it's goofy, but it's
I
called
love Goofy.
called
Big tree.
Big Tree Brewing, and it's called Yacht Rock IPA.
Oh, Chris, what are you talking about? That's the best can I've ever seen.
Right, it's
That is
got,
the best can I've ever seen. Oh, it's so cute. Yacht Rock. Yacht Rock is great.
so
What
yeah.
is that? Yacht Rock. What? Steely Dan?
Well,
I
it's
feel like there's a heavy crossover between Yacht Rock and what some people call Dad Rock.
yeah, there's a lot of crossover there. It's like a lot of Hall and Oates,
Yep.
Doobie Brothers,
Yes.
um, uh, all those, Loggins and Messina, all those.
Like smooth 70s rock that you could put on your yacht or like
Right?
on a
Yeah,
millennial dad, like dads of millennials car ride when you were a kid. I think
yeah.
that's where that comes from because that was my dad as well.
Kind of what we used to call back in the days called dealing music. It's like, oh, we got to put on you have a date or something, you put on some dealing music,
Some
and it
dealing music. Oh, we'll be
kind of
dealing some smooches out, I guess.
not
Dealing
too
some.
heavy, not but it's still kind of rock and rolly, that kind of thing.
Yes, but it's not gonna like mess up the mood. Yeah.
Look at
I like that. I can get with that.
Marie's getting into it here.
Marie Mitchell, Marie. I have seen your emails. I will get back to you. I'm very excited about everything. I just got back from Maine visiting my friend. Real sangria here, Marie. I'm jealous. Do you know what I have? We've been talking about my strawberry flavored hard cider, which I'm excited about, but it's not as exciting as real sangria. Were you like Marie? Were you cutting up like the fruit yourself? Were you like getting some Spanish red wine? Are you crashing the yacht in the rock or just sailing past it? Marie is with us tonight. How are you feeling about it? Do you like yacht rock, Chris?
I'm not a big fan of yacht rock, but I like the beer.
Oh, you
And
got a little bit of foam, Chris. Got a little bit. I
it's
like it
foamy,
though.
getting foamy.
Get foamy in here. It
All
means
right.
it's a good time. Yes.
So yeah,
Well, wait, is it an IPA? Is it tasty? Is
yes,
it
it is.
hoppy?
It's a
Is it
hazy IPA, and it's from Vermont, I think. It's hard to read. There's a lot. It's a very busy.
a lot
Um,
going on that can? I love a
so yeah,
craft
there's a
beer
lot
can.
going on in this can. Brewed by Big Tree Brewing Company. Where the hell? Yeah, brewed-
It's like hidden in all of the
yeah.
like
God, it's very
neon
busy.
designs, huh?
Very, it's somewhere in Vermont. I can't read the actual town.
Oh, Maria's saying it's a brand name. Real Sangria, a nice red wine, slightly sweet,
Oh,
great with Mexican or Thai food. That sounds fabulous, Maria. I'll have to try it. Maria's giving us a little description. I love it.
real
I
sangria.
absolutely love it. Well, we hope that everyone was staying safe and warm during Friday's snowstorm. And here in Connecticut, I heard it was very sleety and nasty. Up in Maine, it was very serious, but it was so beautiful, and it was a great time. And I was telling Chris I had some hot tub time during the snowstorm. It was best snowstorm ever, for real, for real. Um,
You gotta to really do that right. It has to be an outdoor hot tub, though. See,
Oh, they had one. They had one, Chris, and I was this close. I was this close to switching from the indoor one to the outdoor one, but then they had a sign up saying it was slippery, and I just had this like vision in my mind of like me, I don't wear a bathing suit that often. And, if I have like a slip and like things go flying and I injure myself, then I would never forgive myself My
Well,
mom would never forgive me. No, no, no. She of course she would,
it's always a risk. Always a risk.
me horrifying. But I almost did, and they do have that next winter, clearly. It is also Mom's birthday.
Well, listen,
Happy birthday!
it's right there. It's 7 o'clock, so officially we'll ring that in with happy birthday, Mom.
Yes,
Mom Schneider.
Mama Schneider.
Uh,
Mama
turning
Schneider.
39 today and is having a great time, I'm sure.
Yes, yes, yes. She is out to dinner, but she will be popping in at some point, the birthday girl. And because it is also 7 o'clock, it's time to officially welcome you all to FUMFA 85. We have a very exciting double special guest tonight with Vayl Larkin and Chris Torockio. And we can't wait to hear from them very, very soon. It's going to be amazing. And always looking forward to it. It's the best thing going on Sunday night. So send out this link to your friends: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I always like to say we see you watching on Twitter, but we kind of don't. We can't monitor it live, but we always check back later, and we have quite a few people who do watch on Twitter. So throw us a comment in there, let us know, and say hi. But anyways, Chris, tonight we've got Vayl Larkin and Chris Torockio. But who is coming up in the next few weeks?
All right. Well, next week on the 6th of March, hard to believe, March already, we've got Cecilia Martinez Gil, and we have our friend Christine Califas,
Awesome.
she teaches over there at Westport Writers Workshop. Christine does. And the following week, on the 13th of March, we have Nicole Caruso Garcia.
Woo!
And Ken Cormier. And Ken comes to us from the Connecticut Literary Anthology, which is also where Christine has published, and our friend Chris Torockio, who's on tonight, has also published.
Yes, and Blake from last week, right?
Was Blake? Monica Ong was in it.
Monica Ong. Oh, I'm so sorry. Blake wasn't.
Yeah.
Apologies.
So, anyway, yeah. Those are the next couple of weeks, and then we have open mic night on the 20th, our spring open mic night, and we've got a few people who have signed on for that, and some people were waiting to hear back, but we have Bob Howe, we've got our old friend Phil Lemos and our friend Meg Moore coming in there, and
yes.
And then the week after that, of course, is our second anniversary. March 27th. Put that down on your calendar. We're going to have a whole bunch of special guests on here to share some work and to chat with us and say
it's
hi.
It's going to be amazing. We're going to have an awesome mix of Fairfield MFA community people and special guests and good friends. So it's going to be a blast. And also, hey, that open mic is coming up. Here's your chance. If you would love to share something on our show with us, with our audience, that's shorter than a feature, right? We would love to have you. So, take that little extra step out there and send us a little message. If you still have the link to our survey, you can fill that out. We can also send it to you. So just reach out. We would love to have you on the show. And that's actually how, we've gotten to know our first guest this evening, Vayl Larkin from Midnight's Put It Into Chat. And also because she signed up for they signed up for our open mics. And it has been such a treat to watch their performances and also their visual poetry videos, which are ASL accessible. We're so excited to have Vayl for a full feature this evening.
Yeah, there's going to be some cool video stuff happening tonight. So
yeah. Oh, Chris, a little foam on the beard. I'm sorry, Chris. I gotta let you know.
Yeah, it's a hazard.
It's
a hazard. Good thing I'm not eating any soup or something like that.
But we gotta make sure that radiant beard remains pristine.
A little foam Just adds to the sort of Ahab vibe of it. It's
Like
so
a king Triton. What is that from Little Mermaid? Like,
yeah,
like it's glistening with like sea foam.
seafoam.
All right, all right. Um, well, without we need to get started with our readings this evening. So
Yes, we do.
let's actually welcome up our first guest of the evening, our first feature, Vayl Larkin. Welcome, Vayl.
Hello.
It's so great to have you. We are so excited to hear you. Let me go ahead and read your bio. Vayl Larkin is a trans NB wheelchair enhanced writer and all purpose nerd. I love that. An upstate New York native, they now call Pittsburgh home. They write poetry, short fiction, theater, and sometimes impassioned essays. Have featured at various literary events, published in Drunk Monkeys and Women Arts Quarterly, and they create poetry videos that incorporate ASL performance by deaf performers, music, narration, and subtitles for a widely accessible experience. Now, let me make sure we can get the text. So we're going to be putting the text in, a link to the text in the chat. So if you see my post there on YouTube, on Facebook, make sure to grab the text if you would like to read along. And Vayl, just give me the cue when it's time for the video. All right?
We'll do 3 and 3. So the first 3 and then the video and then the second 3, if that's cool.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Vayl. We can't wait to hear
Right.
you.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Of forests and tin men, I am following the wires to the map of our ambition. What is artifice? What is alive? Trees in a grove together will converse, plan, exchange stories and news. They feel each other's pain, they mourn, and keep alive the memories of those who've fallen or been felled. Those times when, in the aftermath, any trees remain. What do they say to one another? When our iron claws come rending earth and wood together, vomiting up waste and death in return, what do they call us? I am following the wires where they wind through the earth, air, and water, through which comes all motile, gasping matter. Their fragile webs span continents and oceans, sparking a million points of choice in the ether of the world. One of the early periodic leaps in the quest for the singularity. What is awareness? Was an AI network to its own system of devices with which it could act on its environment within established parameters. When it had grown and branched into a spherodendric splendor of information, the AI reprogrammed the devices to respond only to its commands and to operate independent of the system established by the scientists. The AI was celebrated, but first, it was destroyed. I am following the wires like veins in leaf, flesh, river, universe, like the veins of light that make up every precious detail we have ever hoped to see. Webs of galaxies, webs of roots, of electricity, and data. What is real? I am following the wires, and I am following ourselves and our fragile, brutal consciousness, with which we judge who lives and who does not exist. This next piece, the title is an Old English word called altheity, which means stranger or foreigner, someone who is in a land not their own. Altheity. When she arrived, big-eyed and shimmering like the wings of insects, they feared her. She was intrinsically alive, every movement inspiring more motion, each beat of something very like a heart driving vitality before it, spreading it through her flesh and skin and beyond. She glowed like a star or a flame or like radium. They wondered what danger she might be, sharp teeth concealed behind a luminous smile. She did not ever mean to leave them. When she stayed, they did not know where to put her. Her strangeness was silvered by the glint of her skin, so beautiful, so uncanny, like moonlight at noon, or a hint of cinnamon on the breeze over a graveyard. She was unexpected. All the little boxes, all the squares they stuffed themselves into, shredded at her touch. She defied containment. She burned straight through the seams, remaking and unmaking them. She could not grasp the will to remain limited. When she changed, they rose up and cried their outrage at this most terrible of betrayals. To be a solid thing, well-known and comforting, and then to shift in a moment into a form unknown and uncontrollable. Too awful to contemplate. She tried to show them, singing of silver to gold and starglow to sun, all light, light always, showing them the faces of herself and all her manifestations. They cried out and cursed, and some ran far away for fear of her vagaries. She thought that she would show them something new. When she vanished, most did not miss her, did not speak or think or dare to dream about their incandescent guest. Some truths are buried deep by those hoping to stop their spread, but truths are seeds and roots will out. And sometimes now a woman would sleep a milkmaid and wake a purveyor of alchemical equipment. Sometimes a man would sleep a husband and wake a wife, and sometimes children grew up nothing like their parents. She had sown herself and chaos in their fields. When she came to them like a gift or like a plague of possibilities, they had no way of knowing what she meant. Carving away their differences, their specificity, they had almost lost the sense to understand her. Now a woman sees herself in the mirror as if for the first time. Now a man trembles with excitement at the thought of spring. Now children do what they have always done, and no one stops them or fails to play along. She is reborn again and again. This isn't about hope. This isn't about hope anymore. This isn't a promise for a better tomorrow. I'm not singing of spaceships and walks in the sun. This isn't about hope. Hope is for children still shy of the world. Hope is for fools who never learned wisdom. They sure love the Buddha, they say as they smudge with sweet grass they stole and prayers in languages they don't understand. But they forget lesson 1. This plane is pain, princess. Hope is for foolishness, for play, at best, for love and poetry. This isn't about hope. Let me welcome you here to this planet. She moves, grows, she thinks and considers. Her temper and tenderness surround all her children. And every wonder you've dreamed of is carried with her through a vastness we never will see. Let me welcome you, destroyer, to this planet where children are monsters and tear up their homes, where knowledge brings violence, where the brutal overpower the strong. Here we have pain, loves. Here we have torture upon torment and lies upon greed. Here we have desperation, destroyers. This isn't about hope. Do you remember the first time you found something alive to love? Imagine loving every life. Imagine all that love, attuned, all resonating. This isn't about hope, though. The tide we summoned is here. The seas shift, then the land, then the poles, and we will be undone almost certainly. Undone. Maybe not in Armageddon, more like thin, clinging remnants of humanity lingering in derelict and anachronistic lives. Do you remember learning that there are indigenous societies where rape does not exist? Do you now? This is about movement. This is about accepting the catastrophes we have called up for ourselves and for billions who never asked for transformation. Stop. Stop hoping. This is about how we have to stop. Stop the war against our mother, against our home, against ourselves, against all those trillions of innocents everywhere. Save what we can if that isn't ourselves. We never earned the right to the life of a Leviathan. This is about mercy. This isn't about hope. And now we're going to do a video that I put together with myself and a very talented ASL performer and actor named Crom Saunders. He's amazing, and I hope you enjoy.
Quoth the raven, nevermore. Edgar Allan Poe. I shot that fucking bird and ate it 2 nights later, ink not yet dry. I shot that fucking bird right off the head of wisdom herself in all her stony glory. I would not have chosen to consume that rank flesh, so imbued with carrion as to turn the guts inside to outside and contents be damned. All the same, I needed to do it. Of course it's to you I'm speaking, always and inevitably, my phantasmagorical lover, my skeletal siren. The winged fright knew that much, didn't he? Before. I killed that lying messenger, filth and falsehoods, on his tongue, as I took aim, and grasped, and squeezed, and recoiled, as if in horror or remorse, but that was not it. By forcing down every bite, singing of sixpence, and gagging all the while, I have found it. It is mine now, and a harsher comfort than I dreamed. I have discovered words closer to the real, to the vibrating heart of things. I have heard your voice from a distant shore and known it for yours, beyond and beneath all shallow appearances. That fucking bird lied. To break me, or mock me, or because it was sent there that bleak night by something looming up and blotting out the sky like a parliament in flight. I now know such things exist, but their messengers are frail stuff for all their terrors. I shot that fucking bird and watched it tumble into the very shadow it cast. You are always with me. Entropy is a myth. We are all together, poets, liars, and lost loves, shifting our surfaces from form to form, as my love is the earth, as I will become air and water, and the stone bones of the land, given enough time. As I am now something of the liar, and the raven is myself.
Okay. So I try to write a wide variety of subjects. So this is something completely different. Wishes for the pre-existing. I wish you to understand how it felt when my body, unbidden, unprompted, began to break down, and slowly or suddenly or both all at once, so many things that I loved were now just out of reach. I wish you to understand how it felt the first time I got into a wheelchair after trying and failing to walk for much longer than I should. The air cooling and soothing my body and face, arms pumping, and I moved like something that moves and is alive, instead of something restricted to some stumbling a few steps and then stopping to cry. People think it's a curse to be in one, but from inside, it's a gift. I wish you to understand what it was like the first time someone treated me like I was a child when I was an adult, right before I got into the chair. I wish you to understand what it was like the first time I was ghosted as soon as the word left my lips or the new photograph loaded. Watching that bright spark that flared for a moment between the two of us snuffed in the vacuum of their vanishing. I wish you to understand what it is like to have someone tell you you're pathetic and lazy and greedy because something happened to you and you weren't immortal or indestructible or any of the things, anything that people who say that must be. I wish you knew what it was like to hear on the news that the government is happy that only people like you will die. When it's not even true, it's a lie. It's burgundy whitewash, death masked in the idea that lives are useless, as though we are useless or alone in our withering. I wish you to know what it is like to wake each morning, breathe, eat, write, read, listen, and see. How you reel with ideas and information, like the soul of the galaxy pouring into your heart through your senses and mind, and how far you can run and how high you can climb from a chair. Reading faces, reading the world, creating. I wish you knew how it felt to hear people cry about their conveniences and hope you die faster. I wish you to understand that this is a choice. How you see us. This isn't inevitable. No one created us unloved. I wish you to understand. In addition to eco poetry and justice poetry, I attempt. I also write about trauma and trauma healing. This next poem is not graphic, but it does reference childhood abuse, so just trigger warning a little bit. Bonefire. Carefully, I parcel them up, the shreds and remnants, the shards, now powerless, of all your seething selves. I have piled them high in a red wagon, rusting a little on the bottom, but strong in its soul. While I pull you on past sleeping houses and past trees alive with tiny breathing, you are remarkably silent. I believe I may have broken you somehow in my search for the truth, for the cold, unbending heart of you. It is not important now, of course. I walk on, finding the smoothest path through the forest. You are not light. When I break into the clearing, red wagon banging my legs as I come up short, I see the wood is stacked. I think I must have done this myself in a dream once. I stand still and breathe, and this wild scent of sap goes through me like gasoline. There was never any choice if life was precious to me. This is where you have always gone. Laid out neatly, you almost form the shape of a person, but not quite. You are lying in state, like parts of a Viking. I will not provide a horse for you, and as for the other, you have burned enough of them in your time already. I think, seeing you like this, that I will not need the matches after all. I stand back away from you, always the safest distance, and breathe again, and smile, and then there it is screaming into the sky. I watch you burn as though each spark flying is a piece of my pain, of my disgust, of my misbegotten shame. I watch you burn, and it is over so quickly. After all, that first furious rush of fire carried you away in an instant. You are not as strong as I thought. Not like this. And my last piece is called Ecstatic Rituals. There has always been a rhythm to the life and flow of us, of our arms out, our legs kicking. There has always been the beat. There has always been the rhythm of the earth breathing, of the trees breathing, of the light and the mystery breathing, and the life. We step so carefully now. Like too much weight will break the soil and send us diving core-bound, crushed. A firm foundation gives the illusion of permanence. Folly in our shifting existence. How our bodies call us to wringing away our hard, even lines into bends, twists, and shapes out of daydreams, all moving at once. We're all breaking the boundaries set by our... There's a sound to the rhythm of the beat of the beyond, and beyond is all of us. We're all breaking the boundaries set by our fear. We're unleashing, and this is the way of the dance. Music is the way we soak into deep pools of shadow, the way we sparkle in the spot, staggering scintillation, and the way we break bodies into beats, notes, and soul. We are everywhere the music flows. We show ways to the waves, to the world out beyond, where we give up our chains for unmaking. Bring in the night soaked in rich darkness and lights in the air, like night made concrete. Like light that takes up space. The air so charged it glows, and the soft, warm cacophony of the sound around us made music, made matter, made mortal. Rising from the dark like revelation and carrying our hearts up so even the peak of the grief of each fade into change makes us weep, makes us sing, and dancing we spin. Here we hold out our arms to the whole world, encompassing darkness, staggering light. and the mind to the body, to the air, to the earth, and around the globe, spinning like a dancer as she kicks her hips to the beat of the bang, and the stars that are sing and are spinning, and it's all one single motion in these moments. In time, you're in concert, you're inside, and there is nothing else. Inside all of us, there is nothing that doesn't belong.
Vayl! There is nothing that doesn't belong. Oh my God, Chris.
What a great ending.
Did Vayl just not like explode your heart with all of that incredible poetry? That amazing video with the acting, with the ASL, and just every single powerful statement that was made, so personal, so beautiful, so cautiously hopeful, even though it's not about hope.
Exactly. Especially these past few days, I mean, it's just been so. And shout out to our brothers and sister writers over in and writers over in Ukraine, and
In Russia, there are a lot of people in Russia who are not in favor of this.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And the people in Russia bravely protesting, despite threats of being thrown in jail. Yes.
They hold the key, I think, especially those people and the writers in particular.
Yes. And as do the rest of us, standing up, speaking up, and holding leaders accountable. Absolutely. Vayl, thank you so much for that gorgeous reading. We cannot wait to ask you a million questions in the Q&A. You got to go and see your comments. I quoted you at least about a billion times in the chat. You have to go check that out later. And it was just absolutely incredible. We will see you in the Q&A. Thank you so much. Woo, Chris. Wow, what a start to the evening.
Wow, and I loved the little postscript of that video too.
I know. Wasn't that just fabulous?
That was such a funny gag, it was just like
That was so great. That was so great. I absolutely love that. I'm dying to hear more about the visual poetry, the video, the ASL, the whole video project. I'm so excited about that and about people doing this kind of thing. So I'll have to talk to Vayl about that later. But we need to welcome our second guest of the night. We need to welcome Chris Torockio. Let's bring him up. Welcome, Chris.
Hi.
Hey. How's your
everybody?
weekend? Good, really good. How's your weekend been?
So far, so good. Yeah.
Fabulous. It's always cool, Chris B, when we have a double special guest night. We love connecting with people beyond our community and getting to hear their work. And Chris, we're so excited to get to know you through the CT Literary Anthology, and we're so excited that you're here with us tonight.
Well, I'm glad to be here. This is awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. Chris B, can you read Chris T's bio for us?
Of course, Chris Torockio is the author of 2 collections of short stories and 2 novels, most recently, The Soul Hunters. His fiction has appeared in Plowshares, the Iowa Review, the Gettysburg Review, Colorado Review, the Antioch Review, West Branch, Passages North, Willow Springs, and elsewhere, including the Connecticut Literary Anthology. And several of his stories have received Pushcart Prize special mentions. A native of Pittsburgh. How about that? We have a Pittsburgh connection tonight.
Yeah, I didn't realize that coming in. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Chris lives now with his wife and son in Connecticut and teaches at Eastern Connecticut State University. And have fun, Chris.
All right. Thank you. Well, yeah, it was very exciting. Listen to Vayl's presentation. I don't have any video. I'm just going to go old school. I'm just going to read a story. And you mentioned the Connecticut Literary Anthology. I'm going to read the story that was in there. One reason is because it's in that 20-minute sweet spot that we're looking for here. So I'm just going to go ahead and read it. It's called When It's You. Wes Funderburk needs to shut up, like now. He sits directly across the table from Angie, talking about the stock market, his face freshly shaved and splotchy pink, a Band-Aid on his bald dome where they recently scraped off what might yet turn out to be a cancerous mole. But it won't be. In the past 2.5 years, Wes Funderburk has had, from top to bottom, multiple melanomas, a double bypass with 2 stents, gallstones removed, blood clots clipped off in his legs, and surgery for severe Morton's neuroma in his foot. Yet here he is, having just devoured his osso buco and awaiting a slice of red velvet cake. He claims the cake is for him and his wife Carol to share, but Carol will sip her coffee, oblivious, while Wes eats the whole thing, along with a shot of Sambuca. When the check is placed on the table, each couple will toss in some cash or a credit card, presumably splitting the bill 4 ways. But Angie didn't order dessert, and while everyone else ordered cocktails and bottles of wine, she didn't have anything to drink either, just water, an appetizer as her entree. No way she spent $20 total. The 3 other couples are probably pushing $100 each. She shouldn't have to split the bill. If Jim were still here, he'd handle it. She wouldn't know how much they've spent, and she wouldn't care, though she and Jim would talk and laugh about the silly injustice of it all on the drive home. You'd think someone would say, hey, the DePaulas didn't have any wine. Maybe they shouldn't have to pay as much, wouldn't you? But oh well, what were you going to do? These were their friends. They'd known each other forever. Angie and Jim had always enjoyed their company and looked forward to their evenings out with them. Now, though, no. Angie does not look forward to evenings out with these people. She feels bad about this fact, a little guilty, but everything is different now. She accepts their invitations because the dinners give her something to do, an excuse to get out of the house, an event to look forward to, words and times to scribble on her calendar, because the alternative, being home after the sun goes down, just herself and the dog, is unbearable. Her running joke is, don't invite me to something just to be nice, because I will accept. Everyone always laughs at this. But seriously, why should she have to pay the same amount as the Funderburks? She won't say anything, of course. She'll keep smiling, keep laughing, and then she'll be annoyed for the next few days. Or someone will suggest Angie not pay at all. The others will get it for her. This happens occasionally, which, while very sweet of them, makes her feel even worse. Her decaf tea arrives, just to give her something to do with her hands. The other couples are the Troutmans and the Dolans. Angie doesn't know the Dolans very well. They're friends of friends. There's a real possibility that Angie will never see them again. The restaurant itself, chosen this week by Wes, is low-ceilinged and darkly paneled. There are no windows visible from their round table in this corner of the room. Strings of white lights are tacked up along the molding, illuminating framed portraits of strangers from other eras. It's a table for 8. The chair to Angie's left is unoccupied. Food was pretty good, Angie must admit, though she isn't sure she'd come back. I'm thinking about jamming some dough into Kevin's bar or whatever it is, Wes is saying now. His armpits strain against his sport coat. Got to be a tax write-off, if nothing else, right? So, okay, he's moved on from the stock market to taxes and their son's fancy new business venture, an establishment in Middletown that brews its own beer and serves small, overpriced plates prepared by some up-and-coming chef from the city. Gastropub, Angie thinks is the word for it. The Funderburks scoff when they talk about it, as if it's just all some frivolous side hustle the son will outgrow before he moves on to his real career as a hedge fund manager. She hasn't been there yet, but Angie knows the place is doing well. It's been written up in Connecticut Magazine's New and Noteworthy column and is getting a ton of word of mouth all over social media. Angie has no idea where the kid got the money to open the place. Well, okay, not true. Of course she knows where he got the money, from his parents or his grandparents, maybe both. Whenever Kevin Funderburk and his entrepreneurial adventures arise in conversation, Angie feels a clenching inside, a kind of soul nausea. She hates that the Funderburks have the means to set up their son with his own hip, fun, publicly successful business, and Angie doesn't. She hates that the Funderburks have at least one kid who has stayed in Connecticut, who they can see on weekends and holidays and for grandkids' grandkids' birthday parties, or even just dinner on a Wednesday. And in her darkest, most shamefully hidden moments, she hates that Wes Funderburk, with his enormous belly and chronic hypertension and mysterious polyps, is still alive, while Jim, seemingly healthy as a horse for 70 years, is not. She wouldn't mind a splash of milk in her tea, but it's all the way on the other side of the table, and she doesn't feel like asking for it. I need to go home. It's Betty Troutman leaning in from Angie's right, her voice barely above a whisper. Betty has a pretty youthful face, if a bit over Botoxed, but a severe haircut dyed reddish brown. Tonight, she's wearing big, colorful earrings with a complicated geometric shape and a gray wool poncho. Whenever she uses her fork, she needs to flip the poncho out of the way to free her arm. Those muscles, she says, are not sitting right. I need a bathroom. Oh no, Angie says, keeping her voice down. Just go here. Betty looks over her shoulder as if checking for spies. I'd rather not. What are you two conspiring about over here? Betty's husband, Ron, leans his elbows on the table, stretching around his wife to see Angie. Plotting a coup, are we? Ron Troutman is a nice enough guy, if a bit stiff and formal. Jim used to say Ron would get visibly annoyed if you cleared your throat during a backswing or walked through his putting line. But Angie has never seen that side of him. To her, he just seems like a nervous guy who plans one joke or witty thing to say ahead of time and then picks an inappropriate point in the evening to awkwardly break it out. It's nothing, dear, Betty says, not turning toward her husband. Don't worry about it. Ron stays leaning on his elbows, holding his smile, unsure of what to do next. He's wearing a brand new button-down shirt right out of the box, creases clearly visible. Angie feels a jolt of pity for the man. Finally, he leans back and shifts toward Wes Funderburk, who now appears to have switched the conversation to the perils of lawn chiggers. Betty puts a hand to her mouth. A thin layer of sweat glistens on her forehead. Oh my God, this is so embarrassing. This is an emergency, Ange. Come on. Angie feels around under Betty's poncho for her hand, then pushes her chair out and stands. We'll be right back, she announces to the table. Betty stands too, gingerly, gripping Angie's hand, trying to relax her face. She attempts a smile that comes off looking more like a sneer. The other two women, Carol Funderburk and Judy Dolan, glance at each other. Are we being left out of something? They're probably wondering. The thought, Angie finds, is kind of exhilarating. She gives Betty's hand a tug and they head off toward the bar. I don't want to do this here, Betty is saying, real fear in her voice. Don't worry, Angie says. I'll stand guard outside the bathroom door. No one's getting past. You'll have complete privacy. Oh, good Lord, Betty says. They circle around the bar to the back hallway, Betty squeezing Angie's hand harder as they go. There is only one single-use bathroom. Angie tries the doorknob. It's locked. Betty groans. Don't worry, Angie says, and begins banging on the door with the heel of her fist. Excuse me. We have an emergency out here. I'm going to die, Betty says. I'm going to kill myself. Oh, stop that. Angie keeps banging on the door. For goodness sake, Betty. Lately, Angie has found herself snapping into abrupt, silent annoyance with people for routine indiscretions. A mix-up at the pharmacy, her granddaughter sleeping till noon, her mailman's occasional late arrival, Wes Funderburk, and she recognizes it is happening now. The muscles aren't agreeing with Betty. She's embarrassed. It's not a big deal. At least Angie's aware of this about herself. That's got to count for something, right? It'll be fine, honey, she says now, gently. Just hang on. Finally, the bathroom door opens, and a big-chested, middle-aged woman fills the space. The woman's hair is pulled back so tightly her eyebrows seem to be lifted upwards from the tension. Rude, the woman mutters. Yeah, sorry, but seriously. Angie makes a shooing motion with her hand. Out of the way, we have a situation here. The woman steps slightly, grudgingly to one side, opening up a narrow strip of space in the doorway. She's wearing a flimsy, loose-fitting, shiny top, and her breasts are so big that the top's fabric drops straight down from them as if plummeting off a cliff, giving the woman's torso a boxy, rectangular shape. She looks like a Lego person. Seriously, Angie says, we're going to do this now? Listen, this woman is in distress. Will you please move? The woman waits a beat, then another. Her eyebrows try to squeeze into a scowl. Then, reluctantly, she steps fully aside. Rude, she says again before shuffling off. Angie pushes the door all the way open and flicks on the light. The walls are painted a soft periwinkle, which is nice, but there's another one of those black and white old-timey portraits of a stranger on one of the walls, which is weird. She turns to Betty. Okay, there we are. Totally private. Now, off you go. Don't listen. Angie puts her fingers in her ears. I'm just on guard duty. Betty takes a deep breath and holds it. The expression on her face looks like someone being pinched, then slides past Angie and closes the door. The lock clicks. The faucet begins to run. Murmured voices float down the hallway from the bar. A Beatles song, the one that repeats, "Life goes on." I didn't know I was going to have to sing. Oh, shit. Plays softly on the speaker system. For a moment, Angie feels good, then catches herself feeling good and recognizes the meaninglessness of that joy. Still, it's nice what she's doing now, helping Betty out this way. Once, a couple of years ago, when Jim was still here, Angie was playing in one of her bridge leagues at someone's house. She can't remember whose. And sometime toward the end of the evening, after several bottles of Chardonnay had been opened and emptied, one of the women posed the question, if you could go back in time, back to when you were 20 or 25 years old, and remarry your husband, would you do it? There were about a dozen women there set up around multiple tables in the dining room. It was the Funderburks' house, now that Angie thinks about it, that giant dining room of theirs, with teams rotating from table to table to play different opponents throughout the evening. And only 3 women, Angie, Betty, and one other woman, Lori Wells, who has since moved to Norwalk, said that yes, of course they'd marry their husbands if given the chance to go back and do it again. It was a silly, wine-fueled discussion, really, but Angie remembers the enthusiasm with which all the other women, including Carol Funderburk, expounded upon their reasoning for why they would never marry their husbands again if offered a do-over. The conversation grew animated, everyone talking over each other, trying to one-up the previous illustration of spousal inadequacy. Hilarity ensued. Angie kept quiet, wondering, could this be for real? Maybe they're joking. But no, this was how they really felt. All of those husbands are still alive, walking around in the world, continuing to be inadequate disappointments, except for Jim. When it's you, Angie thinks, then you'll know. Then you'll know what it's like. But then again, maybe not. Maybe they won't know. Maybe they'll never know. Maybe the dull, aching emptiness living inside Angie day after day will, for them, be relief. Behind the bathroom door, the toilet flushes loudly. The tenor of the running faucet changes when Betty washes her hands, then turns off. Angie prepares her face, hoping to appear welcoming and sympathetic, yet also to convey a sense of normalcy, of putting this behind them and getting back to life. The bathroom door opens. Betty switches off the light and stands in the doorway, looking exhausted and haggard. Her poncho hangs crookedly to one side. The ring of hair framing her face is damp from sweat, or maybe from having splashed water on her face, or both. That was, Betty says, her voice raspy, brutal. Angie laughs. She can't help it. Just an unintentional bark at first, but then she has to cover her mouth, unable to hold it back. I mean, really just catastrophic, Betty says. And then she's laughing too, and they reach out and take each other's hands to steady themselves and keep laughing, the occasional snort slipping out until the laughter finally subsides and they can catch their breath. And then they're standing there, holding hands in the hallway, eyes moist with tears. Finally, Betty dabs at the corner of her eye with a knuckle and says, I'm thinking those were the last mussels I'll ever eat in my life. Probably wise. We must never speak of this again. Speak of what? Betty smiles. A man enters the hallway and makes his way toward them. The man is in his 40s, movie star handsome, fit and trim, full head of swept-back, gray-flecked hair, sleeves rolled up to mid-forearm, an expensive-looking but unpretentious watch on his wrist. They watch him approach for a moment. Then Betty takes Angie by the arm. Yikes, she says. Let's get out of here before he goes in. They sidestep the man, who nods cordially to them, and head back through the bar, still holding on to each other, moving quickly as if fleeing a crime scene. Back at the table, the waiter is tallying up the bill. As Angie and Betty approach their chairs, everyone looks up at them, oddly expectant. Well, there they are, Wes exclaims. So, what kind of hijinks have you ladies been up to? He laughs impishly. Betty's face twitches. Oh, she stammers. Angie reaches out and snatches the check from the waiter's hand. This is on me, she says, then starts digging for her credit card around in her purse, which hangs off the back of her chair. There's a moment of stunned silence, and then everybody starts talking at once. Angie, no. Out of the question. We couldn't let you. That's really not necessary. Angie waves them off. I insist, she says, finally locating her credit card. Please, let me do this. She hands the check and her card to the waiter and gives him a nod that she hopes says, I'm in charge here. You can listen to me. He takes the card and heads off with it. Angie, Wes says, really? Nope, it's done. I want to. She sits, feeling charged and buoyant. You all, I can't tell you how much it means that you continue to include me. I just want to say thanks. I've been wanting to. Please, let me do this for you all. Betty settles in her chair and squeezes Angie's knee under the table. Thanks, Ange. Yes, thank you, Angie, says Wes and raises his glass of Sambuca. Cheers. No one again asks where she and Betty have been. When the receipt is placed down in front of her to sign, Angie tips 30%. The drive from the restaurant in West Hartford to her house in Marlborough should take her about 20 minutes. Earlier in the day, the Troutmans offered to pick her up, but Angie declined, and now she's glad she did. Sitting in the back seat of the Troutmans' car would have felt awkward. Plus, now she has the luxury of sitting alone in the sweet hum of her own car. She still drives a minivan just for herself, cruising through the darkness. She merges onto Route 2, radio off, the dashboard's glow on her face, and feels a feathery warmth move through her. Maybe she should call one of her kids to pass the time. Her daughter is in Charlotte with her lawyer husband and 2 children. Might be someone's bedtime, though. She probably shouldn't get in the middle of that. Her oldest son is in Tampa, but talking to him always fuels Angie's anxiety. He's working from home as a PR rep, though Angie suspects he's actually between jobs as a PR rep. She also suspects he and his wife aren't getting along, fighting over the causes of their son's recent delinquent behavior, shuttling the boy from therapist to therapist. Phone conversations with him can be taxing, in other words, and Angie doesn't want to sabotage her mood. Her youngest son is single and works for Spotify in Amsterdam. He might have some fun things to share with her, tales of his latest European travels or Danish women he's recently dated. But it's 3 a.m. over there, so that's out too. She doesn't think she has any plans for tomorrow. She'll have to check her calendar. Maybe she should clean out the closet in the back bedroom. She could take the dog for a long walk if the weather's okay. She exits Route 2, and as she turns onto Route 66, a 2-lane country road cutting through 50 miles of central Connecticut, her headlights sweep across a stand of thin trees and underbrush and illuminate a bright set of glittering, ghostly eyes. The eyes belong to an animal of some sort, though she's never seen an animal like this before, standing on 4 legs in the gravel just off the road, low to the ground, looking back over its shoulder at her. The head is weasel-like, the body long and curved and dark, the legs short but somehow longer than they need to be. Angie's blood shivers. Oh God, she's seeing things. That is not a real animal. It's mythological, or extinct, or should be extinct. It holds there in the beam of her headlights, momentarily arrested, and the headlights glide past it as she completes the turn back to the road ahead. And then it's as if the animal never existed. Only the image of it remains, burned into her brain. Angie realizes she's been holding her breath and struggles for a moment to take in air. She considers pulling over, regrouping, but she wants to put some distance between herself and the animal. She's only a couple minutes from home. She touches her own cheek and forehead, feeling a startling absence. This is what she misses most, what she longs for, being able to turn to someone, to Jim, and say, "Did you see that thing? What in the world was that?" She understands now that it's possible for fear to be thrilling when shared. Yes, that's what she misses. She makes the final turn onto her street and wonders if she'll ever get used to the permanence of Jim being gone, the terrible truth of it. She supposes not, yet for the first time she feels a strange, hopeful comfort in this knowledge. Maybe she'll tell Betty about the animal tomorrow, or one of her kids. It won't be the same, though. She knows this. There will be a loneliness in the telling. Maybe this time, she thinks, she'll just keep the memory for herself.
Woo! Chris, you broke my heart at the end there, but it was so perfect.
Well, thank you.
I love that story. I read that story today. I read it before, and then today I was like, oh, I gotta like look at Chris's story. And then I started, and it's like, oh yeah, I remember this. And then I just kept reading the whole thing, even though I'd read it before.
Oh,
yes.
Well,
it was great to hear it too.
Oh, absolutely. These characters, these scenes, they're like so visceral. They're so real, right? Like I felt like I was right there. Extremely, extremely relatable. I love what Chris posted during your reading. I love a good gastrointestinal
right.
drama.
Gastrointestinal drama.
Yeah. There's nothing quite like it, huh?
Oh my God, I was very tense. I was very tense.
Oh, good. Well, thank you.
But I think that was so perfect, identifying that feeling of loss, and you're kind of wondering when that's gonna come back around in the story, and such subtle emotional shifts in here that are so real and so relatable, but not necessarily easy to capture, and you made it happen.
Well, I'm glad. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Well, Chris B, absolutely amazing evening. We need to get into our Q&A.
Let's bring Vayl back up here.
Absolutely. Everybody get those questions in the chat. Welcome back, Vayl.
Hi.
Let's have another round of applause for Vayl Larkin and Chris Torockio. What a rock star night of special guests. Ooh.
Yeah, Chris, I loved your piece.
Oh, thanks. I loved yours too. I didn't catch the Pittsburgh connection. Where in Pittsburgh do you live now?
Well, funnily enough, I live in Lower Lawrenceville at this exact moment, but the next month I will live in the Southside Slips.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Nice.
Two great neighborhoods.
And say hi to some of my coworkers, because one of my two jobs is working remotely for Duolingo, which is down in Pittsburgh. Another little Pittsburgh connection.
Wow.
I have a lot of coworkers who live down there as well. Yeah. Couldn't resist a little shout out. That is so cool. Thank you so much, Vayl and Chris. Just fabulous readings. I'm still like dwelling in both of these worlds, just feeling so much. But we have to get into our questions. Our audience, we trust, is just getting those in the chat. Yes. But we're going to get started with our new famous first question. Chris?
Yep. Okay, well, we'll start with Vayl. So, Vayl, how has being a writer changed your life?
That's a complicated question, because I was hyperlexic. I started writing pretty much as soon as I could grab a pen.
Whoa.
And all of my early drawings and stuff from preschool were just me copying letters and numbers over and over and over again.
Whoa.
So I have literally written the entire life I can remember. And I've kept journals, and I've kind of written obsessively. I'm a little bit of a graphomaniac.
That's awesome.
So it hasn't really changed your life. It's just been your life.
It's been your life.
Yeah. Writing has been the consistent thing throughout my life. Reading and writing have been the consistent thing throughout my life. I've gone through a lot of different changes, but those have been always there.
That is so awesome. I have a follow-up question to this, but let's pass this question to Chris Torockio, but I'm going to put a little mental pin in that. We'll come back to this.
Okay, so me.
Yes, Chris.
What's the question? How has being a writer changed my life?
Yeah, or how is just writing?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm, you know, unlike Vale, I'm more of a late bloomer. I mean, I was,
Yeah.
I didn't start until really after graduating college. I mean, I discovered um, just that maybe it was something that I could do at the very end of college. And so
Awesome.
it was sort of, I had to sort of educate myself and reteach myself, and then, went back to school and, all that stuff. But, I guess just the fact that it's become my life is
Mm.
not where I would have expected it, expected
Whoa.
myself to be, when I was growing up. So,
What did you expect?
oh, I don't know. I don't know what,
Were you a
I
reader?
am working in a bank or something. I don't know. Whatever you go to, you grow up, you get a job, you wear a tie, you go to,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
go to an office. I guess that's what I thought. I thought life was.
Great.
And
Chris,
yeah.
were you always a reader? Was it something that made sense once you figured out that
Yeah. I wasn't an active reader, as a kid, but I was always aware of little things. Like I
Yeah.
would notice, I would notice nuances in dialogue in a TV show that I didn't realize I was doing it at the time. Or my favorite bands. I was always curious who wrote the songs. I don't, but it wasn't until last semester of my senior year when I took a fiction writing class and started, and I think it's the same with a lot of
I was
writers.
like, whoa, what if I had tried this sooner?
Well, yeah, you read something and it makes you feel something, and you go, oh shit, I want to make people feel that way, and I, so it was that kind of thing.
That is so awesome. That is so awesome, Chris. And I love how everybody has their different journeys, and there's something so exciting and inspiring about each different stage, where that's happening. We have Vale like for life from the beginning, and then it's cool to hear that like right at the tail end of college you found it out and it kind of changed everything. That is so cool to hear too.
Yeah, it was very frustrating because I graduated and it was like, wait a minute, I just started. I just found I just found what I wanted to do, and now they're kicking me out.
No.
Back to school.
Yeah. That is so great. Vale, I'm dying to know. So you have always been writing, and that has been like, it seems a very personal thing. You've also published some pieces, and I know you from during these past two pandemic quarantine years, from online venues. But what have been publications or performances or venues that you have pursued before this interesting online time, or were you in online venues before 2020?
Well, nothing's ever simple when you ask me questions. I'm so sorry.
That's fine. No, we love complicated. We've got time, Vale. We've got our beverages. We're ready to hear it.
Well, I'll tell you what. I have always been a writer, but I haven't always been a writer professionally.
Mm-hmm.
I started out college. I went to university for classical vocal performance, opera.
Awesome.
And literary theory. I never took a writing class.
Whoa. But that's still like incredibly, what an awesome combination.
Yeah, and I minored in calculus.
So cool, Vale. Still, even more questions. Just questions increasing exponentially by the moment.
It's not going to get better.
I love it.
I was singer for a while, and then I realized that I hated everything about opera except the actual music, and there was a lot more involved than that.
Yeah.
Being an opera singer, and I had a little breakdown because this thing I had prepared for half my life was turned out to not be at all what I wanted to do. And I became an exotic dancer because I had a lot of dance and athletics experience.
Amazing.
For
more questions, even more.
And then I had my own business for a while, and then I became a technical writer actually for an engineering firm.
No
Uh-huh.
way.
So I did that for a number of years, and now I'm actually disabled, but um, uh, my focus is now on my writing, and I've
Wonderful.
more publication in the past 3 years since I had to go on full disability
I
and performances and things like that around Pittsburgh, and then the pandemic hit about the time I was moving around Pittsburgh. So since then I've been online because I'm immunosuppressed. So
Oh, geez.
I I can't leave my house still.
You're not taking any risks that other people
I have
might be willing to
overlapping
take.
conditions. I would really probably die. It's very dangerous for people like me.
Please.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited and very, very happy that online venues are like, I feel here to stay. Chris and I aren't going anywhere. Our show isn't planning to go anywhere. We would love to do some in-person, stuff eventually, but I mean, the possibilities of online, the access, the fact that we can be connected and spend an evening with the two of you, in the different places where you are. And next week, for example, Cecilia, some of our friends are out on the West Coast, and perhaps we even have our friend Unmesh, who is coming in from India, who has been on some of our open mic nights. Just the possibilities for connection, where people would not be able to physically access that. And also, like what you're saying, people who are immunosuppressed, people who have different kinds of limits of travel, everybody can be included in this way. So I think it is just, it's just the best. And it's so great to see what you're doing. And I was just mentioning to Chris before that these videos, the visual poetry, this incredible work with the ASL that you're also doing with this incredible actor. I mean, where else could that be showcased? Of course, you can create a YouTube page, but in terms of like a live reading performance showing, like, this is the venue for that. And we're really honored to get to have you and share your those kinds of works.
Yeah, it's like a little movie. You get to I mean, he's got the hair and the
I know.
and he's got the that, I mean,
I did one earlier last year for Brooklyn Poets for another poem of mine, and that was also very cool. I enjoy working with Crom.
That is so cool. And I have more questions about that, but we have some questions for Chris in the chat. There was a quick one before the ones that are down at the bottom from Brenda. Brenda quickly asked, what is the name of the anthology where this story is published? And that's the CT Literary Anthology.
Yep, there it is right there. And Chris B has a poem in there as well.
Yes. And you will find several of our other special guests from this month, last month, and also coming up who are in there. We've been trying to make friends with our Connecticut neighbors in there, as well as, of course, the other friends that we've been making. And
terrific stuff in that anthology, and just made sense to.
It's just so good. So good. We're really honored. So here we have a question from Jessica Ryan. Chris, so your first degree wasn't in English. What did you major in?
Well, like I said, I showed up at college thinking I was going to, go into some business or something. And until about a year and a half in, I almost flunked out. I remember I still have nightmares about statistics class. I still wake up and
it's the worst.
Yeah. I looking around thinking everybody knows what he's talking about, but me, and I remember I went to a small college. I remember meeting with the dean, and the dean going, dude, you better figure something else out because this ain't working. And so I took a journalism class. And I was like, I did, this comes pretty easily. This can't be right, can it? So it surprised me, and I just really liked, really like just writing, which I didn't. I mean, like I said before, I think I knew that I could do it. I just never thought it was a thing you could do.
Yeah, yep,
Yeah,
get that
yeah.
feeling.
And so I ended up, my major was in communications.
Okay.
Yeah, because my school didn't have journalism. Journalism was a part of, communications. So, so that's what I majored in, as an undergrad. Yeah.
All
I mean, that
right.
makes me think it's hard when you're growing up, and this was the case with me too. It's like, I mean, in a sense, I was always writing in some ways, but it never seemed like a real thing you could do.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, you read books, you see books, there are authors out there, and that's what they do, but you don't know anybody personally who does
Right.
it. As you do know a lot of people, your parents or your parents' friends or whatever, who put on the suit and tie and go to an office, right? So that seems like, well, that seems like a thing that people can do.
Right.
If you don't know a writer personally, it's like, it's just this magic.
How do they
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They're all in New York and LA and then, or Paris, and that's what
Paris
not like,
sitting at a tiny cafe table.
Right.
I'm thinking about, I grew up in Ohio. It's like there's nobody in Ohio who writes, there's nobody it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's hard, and then you finally figure it out. How is your journalism training help you or not help you? Maybe
Actually,
fiction, right?
It actually helped. That's a good question. It actually helped me a lot, because I back when there were lots of newspapers,
Yeah.
and that was like a thing. I started writing for these small, bi-weekly small town newspapers, and I would, there were some issues where I wrote the whole front page,
Whoa.
because there was only a couple of us working, and I remember having to go to like these city council meetings, for these little towns, and they were so boring, and they'd go on
I can only
3 hours,
imagine.
and they'd be waiting for me back at the office with a space for the story for the next morning, and so I knew I needed to have a 6-inch story, on something that could fit in this space, for
Right.
that they could run in the morning. And I'd be sitting there going, what in the world am I going to, what am I, and, I'd be sitting, they'd be just talking about this stuff. And I can remember every meeting there would be, some moment where there'd just be blah, blah, blah. And then it'd be like, somebody would say something and I'd be like,
That's it.
that's my story. There's my story. Right there, so it helped me, I think, as a fiction writer, to be able to pick out what is the story,
I love that.
Right.
And I burned out on it pretty quickly. I only did it for a couple of years. It got very boring for me because it was the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the reporting. I didn't like being a reporter. I didn't like bothering people for interviews and quotes. I'd rather just make it up, so I burned out on it pretty quickly, but it was really good training in terms of being able to locate the story and what matters and what I can get rid of, what isn't necessary, and being able to fit it in that 6-inch window. I think that was actually very good training.
I think that's great. I can really imagine how that works. What a great story. That's fabulous. Thank you so much, Chris.
Yeah.
It probably is a great lesson in learning how to sit down and you have to write. It's like,
I got to come up with something. Yeah.
So if you apply that to fiction, because so often it's like, well, I don't have anything in my mind today, but if you force yourself to sit down,
absolutely,
you can.
It's such an interesting experience. You just have this, you need to sit in this certain place and just be attentive to what's happening, and you're like filtering. Got it. I think that's so fascinating. That's very cool. Vayl, I'm dying to ask you, as I was listening to your gorgeous poetry and the video, which I also want to ask more about, have you put together a manuscript? Would you ever hope to publish a book, or would you prefer to go a sort of different route and perhaps publish a manuscript that is in the form of digital media with video? I'm very interested in all of that.
The answer is yes. I have a manuscript that I just submitted to a publisher after working with an editor on it.
Congratulations.
Crossing fingers. And I have another script for a play that I've turned into a radio play for a different program, but I'm also long term we're looking on turning it into a film.
Amazing.
It's
That's awesome.
It's a play, but then the vocals are all narration, and it's all kind of poetic narration.
I absolutely love that, Vayl. And we plan to have a screenwriter night coming up soon. We have one feature for that. We kind of have someone else booked, but we would absolutely love to chat about about presenting. If something could fit beautifully within this 25-minute feature window that you have, it would be so awesome to to hear some of your work. If there was a way that we could do it on StreamYard.
Yeah.
Now's the time for, I mean, when you say radio play, right, in a way it sounds so old fashioned. It's like old school.
It was on a podcast, but I'm old, so I call it radio play.
Right.
With the podcast now, it's like
it's back, like all the way back.
Radio. It's all about the audio, and then a lot of films and film develop. They're developing a lot of podcast stuff from that, because tons and tons of people are listening to these things.
I love it. I think that is so great. That is very cool, Vayl. We're our fingers are crossed for your manuscript. I mean, like, if that publisher doesn't take it, they're crazy. I was about to say, like, I can't believe no one has snatched this up yet. And I was just wondering if you had a manuscript. So that's really great. I'm so excited to hear about what you're working on. That is so wonderful. And
what's on my bio, but honestly, I haven't prioritized publishing like other people have. I worked I've done a lot of work as a lyricist, and I had a lot of stuff published as a lyricist, and so it's kind of like I've had my words in print.
You've had your publishing.
So it's just as much fun as performing. So someone talked me into putting together a manuscript. So now I have a manuscript.
Well, I'm glad that they did, because I would have also, because as a performer live, I mean, you're absolutely incredible. So you got to keep doing that as long as you want to. But I mean, I want to have it in a book on my shelf too. I love it. Chris Torockio. I wanted to ask you, so you are then on this journey towards writing. Did you go to an MFA program? Did you go into a PhD program? How did you then go to writing schooling, or was your schooling elsewhere and you attended workshops?
I did both. I worked for a couple of years, then I went and got my MFA at University of Pittsburgh, actually. And I always felt like I was just getting things figured out when I would finish a degree. And then I would, and then I'd want to go back, So I do. I got my MFA, and then a couple years later, went back and got my PhD in creative writing as well. Yeah.
That is so great.
Yeah.
Chris, at Pittsburgh, did you work with Lewis Norton?
I did. Yeah. He blurbed my first book. Yeah. He was a wonderful, wonderful guy.
Great guy. I met him at the Virginia Center for the Creative Arts one time. Yeah. What a sweetheart of a guy he was.
He really was. Yeah.
That is so great. Yeah. And Chris, I have one extra little question for you. Mm-hmm. Before I ask Vayl about the video question I've been dying to ask. is oh, oh my God, it left me. It left me. Oh no.
Oh well, it
Yeah,
happened.
hard cider.
Yeah.
Chris, I'm so
You
sorry.
went into the hard.
Hey.
All right, hold on, let me ask.
cider.
I really hope it'll come back to me. I
Okay.
really hope it'll come back to me because
All
I
right.
wanted to. No, because we've been asking about your journey. And I think this is very, very interesting. And we have this wonderful comment from Brenda over here, which is she's been very excited to hear about the journalism stuff. She said it's excellent training for fiction and finding the heart of your story. So that made me very excited too. Oh, I got it. I got it back.
Oh
Okay,
wow, that doesn't happen. Yeah, yeah, that's
Right.
exciting when it comes back.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
needed that extra little beat.
Yeah.
So okay. So with the PhD, you're going to be a professor. So that's teaching. And even if you're teaching writing, that involves kind of this whole world of teaching. So what is it like, kind of being a writer and a teacher? Is that really where your heart is in terms of your career? So was there a moment where you were like, I want to get my PhD, for my writing, for myself, but also because I want to be a professor?
Yeah, a little bit of that. I mean, if I'd have, cashed in and, but I actually do like teaching. It's, I mean, I noticed a couple of my former students on the chat here.
Fabulous. Hello, students.
So,
alums.
Yeah, no, it actually is something that I did want to do, and I never thought I'd be able to. But really, what I do is I just go in there and I talk about writing, and it's something that I feel like I can confidently talk about.
There you go.
So,
That's great.
yeah, I mean, I didn't think that's what I would be doing until I went and got that PhD. I mean, I remember my first teaching job. I don't know what time it is. My first teaching job was when my wife and I were living in North Carolina at this tiny little, we moved down there for her job. And this was between my MFA and my PhD. And so I ended up filling in for a professor at a community college down there. And I had never taught anything, and they just sort of threw me in there. And
oh my God.
I was scared to death,
like, you have an MFA, get in there.
Yeah. But you figure it out pretty quickly, and
you found your way, and then you were like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah, I think I can do this. Yeah.
That is so cool.
Don't you just think about the teachers you liked, whatever it is you're teaching, and it's like, oh, okay, I'll do what they do and see if that works.
Yeah,
right.
That's absolutely what I do. When I'm teaching, I think, well, what would have worked for me? When I was a sophomore or a junior, what would have worked for me? And a lot of the stuff, that comes out of my mouth has, in a classroom has come out of, one of my mentors before me, So
absolutely.
It's kind of like being a parent, it's like you figure it out. It's like you do what your parents did, but you improve it. When you figure yourself, it's like, well, that didn't work so well, so I'm not gonna do it that way. I'm gonna do it this way.
Right.
It work, and then you pass it along. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's so great, Chris. Vayl, really quick, before our famous last double question, I have to ask you, Vayl, what is the process for creating the videos, the visual poetry, with the ASL? What was that journey for you to get started with that, and how do you make these? And do you have a series of them? That's like many questions.
Crom and I have only done 2 so far. Okay. I have some other videos that are just spoken word with subtitles, and some others that are spoken word with subtitles mixed with some old opera recordings of mine.
Nice.
Right.
And those are all on my YouTube channel, which you can find. I'm Linktree /Vayl Larkin. It's easy to find.
Okay, got it.
We saw a couple of those anyway.
We
maybe
did. We have.
the opera and everything,
We
yeah.
love them.
And when I'm doing a video with Crom, or if I find any other, I am always looking for deaf ASL performers who would be interested in doing these videos.
Awesome.
Hit me up. I'm totally on board with whatever you need.
That's great.
Make this happen. But when I work with Crom, we have done it two different ways. We have done it so the poetry has been recorded and Crom has created a performance to that recording.
Mm.
But with this video, we did it the other way around. Crom designed his performance, did the entire thing, and then I set the narration and the music to his video.
I love that. I love kind of like the possibilities for expression of each different way. That is so cool.
And I really appreciate, because ASL performance by deaf performers is an entirely different game than the interpretation you see by hearing interpreters. ASL is a very dynamic, very complex language, and deaf ASL performers know it in a way that hearing people just cannot.
Right.
And so I want to feature deaf performers, because the community consuming those ASL videos is by and large deaf and hard of hearing, and more native speakers of ASL.
Right.
So I want something that's going to be evocative and complex, and not just someone doing the signs.
Yes. I love this, Vayl. I think it is so fabulous, and I hope you'll continue to like keep in touch. Let us know what you're up to, and we would love when you've got a new video coming out. Let us know. We would love to. We would love to show it and share it and just amplify what you're doing. We think it's absolutely incredible. Thank you so much. So cool, and so powerful. Chris, we got to get to our famous last double question.
Okay. And we'll start with Chris. It's a double question. So first question is we call it the Pearl of Wisdom. Give us a pearl of wisdom for writers out there. Just I'm sure you do this every day at school when you go to teach, but some pearl of wisdom for the up and coming writers that you can share with them. And then secondly, a book recommendation.
Oh, okay. So pearl of wisdom for let's see. Don't worry about it. You can't break it. You can't mess it up. You can't. You can't make it. You can't make it unfixable.
I love that.
Just keep going. You can't. Writing is not. It's not made of glass. You can fix it.
Yes.
That would be, I guess, I don't know. Is that wisdom? Yeah.
I think so. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's wisdom. Because I think sometimes people stop themselves before they even start.
Yeah.
Or they get started and then they know that they need or want to change something, but they're so afraid to change or just even open a new document. Just let's just go here for a minute and then come back. I think that's really great advice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not a good first sentence. I'm going to quit right now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Just put your head down and keep going.
Yeah. Okay. Book recommendation.
Book recommendation. Let's see.
It doesn't have to be like the best book you've ever read. That's like maybe a book that you've been loving recently. Perhaps?
Let's see. A book that I've been loving recently.
Or the best book you ever read. Whatever.
Anything.
Yeah. There's so many. I don't know where to.
I mean, we're really putting you on the spot with that. Whenever someone asks me this question, it's hard for me to.
I've just been reading. I just finished Jonathan Franzen's new one. I liked it a lot. I don't know if that's controversial or not, but
no, I heard great things about it. I mean, the reviews have been terrific.
Yeah. I know he's kind of a controversial figure, but I think he's pretty amazing, and I liked his new one. What's it called? Crossroads. It's called Crossroads.
Yeah.
Vayl, pearl of wisdom recommendation?
I'll do a wisdom that goes along with Chris's wisdom. When you're editing, which you should always do lots of, none of my poems look anything like themselves when I start out.
No.
Don't get too attached to any particular word you're using or any particular phrase you're using. You don't know if you're attached to it because it's brilliant or because it resonates personally with you and won't resonate with anyone else.
Right.
Always keep the soul of your writing, but don't get attached to words and sentence structure. Like,
Right.
you're going to change all that stuff.
Yes. I think that's so good too. That's both of you giving us such excellent pearls of wisdom to prevent that like stuckness and like clinging to what is already written, but is not like, it's not what you want it to be. It's not what it could be. I love that. I think that's so important, and I think that has to do with sort of trusting the flow and trusting, continuing the kind of just the move, keeping in the movement of writing, and that takes some confidence and sort of trust in the spirit of it and the flow as well. I love that. I really love that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, thank you so much
Wait, hold
once
on.
again. Oh,
We need a
recommendation. I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm just talking our time away. I'm so sorry. Vayl. Apologies.
book recommendation.
I'm going to recommend the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin.
All
because
right.
she's my favorite newer author right now. She is stunning as a magical realist, and she writes fantasy, and she writes magical realism, she writes sci-fi, and she's all over the place. Just amazing writing. Support my author.
Thank you so much, Vayl. I'm so sorry I almost cut off your recommendation. I was just flying on those pearls of wisdom. Apologies.
It's okay.
Say that again, Chris.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay. Thanks, guys. Anyways, another round of applause, please, for Vayl Larkin and Chris Torockio. Such excellent, wonderful, powerful readings. So wonderful to talk with you, and we hope that we can have you both back really soon. Stay in touch. Go and see your comments, on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, right? Our friends on Twitter as well. And we'll be back next week with Chris,
Cecilia Martinez Gil, and Christine Califas.
Gonna be awesome.
All right.
Thank you so much, Vayl. Thank you, Chris, and have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, Katie and Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you.